Hi, everybody. This is Leah, and this is the New Year, New You Reset Group Health Coaching Program that we are doing in January through February of 2023. I'm so glad that you decided to join us. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen right now. So let's see if I can do that correctly. Okay. Okay, I think I've got it up and going. But I am so glad that you are here and you made the first step when you signed up for this. And so we are at in January, we're at the end of January, but I like to give a little bit of time for everybody to kind of get started into January and figure out what you want to do. But if you don't know yet, I'm going to be here to help you. So if you have been having persistent weight around your middle, you have been having fatigue and brain fog, and you've been wanting to fit into your favorite jeans, and you are over 40, but you feel like you've been spinning your wheels and you don't know what to do on your own, you are in the right place. We're going to relearn and readjust and live just a bit differently, right? Because after all, if you are going on vacation and you change your plans to a different climate later on, you probably have to change the clothes that you pack, right? And what you're bringing. So that's what happens. Once we hit 40, our metabolism changes, our body changes, our mind, our hormones, all that changes. But that's okay. That's the way God created. But we just have to kind of relearn and readjust. Okay. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what this group program is here for as well. So we have a small group of ladies, but that's going to be good because we're going to have a little bit more time to be a little bit more intimate and support each other better. So I hope that you will participate in our Facebook group as well. I like this quote: take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just the first step, right? Sometimes when we are starting, right? We're excited about it. Our adrenaline's going. We're ready to do everything. But we expect that we're going to turn around 100% by tomorrow, right? And then we beat ourselves up when that hasn't happened. Well, I want to set you up for realistic success at the end. This is a 3-week program. It's not a 3-month, it's not a 6-month, but you are going to get some basic and even some intermediate recommendations and suggestions. But I want you to be patient with yourself and always remember it's progress, not perfection. Okay, just one little tiny step, and that is what you need to do. Okay, let me give this disclaimer right at the beginning. I'm not a doctor, I'm a health and wellness coach. This information is just for educational purposes, is not meant to be used as medical advice, and I always recommend you check with your own medical practitioner before starting any kind of nutritional or lifestyle modifications, all right? Learn to be your own best advocate and you be you. All right, so I like to give an agenda each week and what we're going to cover so that you'll be prepared. So today we are going to cover our goals, your why. We're going to cover mindset and mindset shift. We're going to talk about meal prep and the reason why that is so significant. We're also going to talk about nutrition. We're going to go into some affirmations, and then we're going to do what your action steps are. And going to have a time for Q&A. I realize this is recorded, but I will be happy to address any kind of questions each week that you either send me or you post in our group. But please feel free to message me or post in our group, and I'll be happy to talk to you privately as well. All right, so your motivation and your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you actually sign up? Your why is key to not only just beginning, but also continuing when the going gets tough and maybe you get tired. So we want to talk about what is your why. So I want you to really be thinking about it as you watch this video and think about it this week. So let's talk about your health in 4 different parts, okay? I like this picture because it shows health and wellness is just a conglomerate of a whole lot of different areas that sometimes we don't think about it. But I want to break it down into 4 areas right now: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So I want you to visualize your life, where you are now, where you're going to be in a year, and where you want to be in 5 years. Do you want to be the same as you are now, or do you want to be changed in some way? Let's talk about your physical health. Sure, we're going to talk about nutrition and eating and exercising and how your clothes fit, but really, the nutrition is going to affect more areas than just your physical health, right? Maybe you have some chronic health conditions, right? Maybe you have some autoimmune, maybe you have some hormonal issues. All of that goes into your physical health, okay? Also, think about it this way. Do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to be able to hike and walk as a tourist? Do you want to be able to do things with friends, with your family, with your husband, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids? Do you want to have endurance for certain activities and sports for fun? Do you want to be able to keep up with your job? Okay. What about the emotional? Where do you want to be emotionally? Do you want to still be having maybe those feelings of rejection from the past or insecurity? Do you want to have the procrastination? And sometimes we procrastinate because we're trying to be perfectionists, right? I know that's one of my areas that I've been working on. Do you take things personally? Or do you compare yourself to others? All those are some emotional and mental health concerns. And for mental, some of it overlaps with the emotional, but do you want to have the mental power or the brain power to live as long of a life as the good Lord gives you here, right? Do you want to be functioning and thinking at your best? You want to, a lot of people nowadays or their loved ones have dementia or cognitive decline. I'm sure you don't want that for yourself, right? We all have friends who maybe have loved ones, or maybe we've had loved ones who have that, and that's just a tragic way to end your life. So we want to do everything we can to try to prevent that, right? So what can you do to maintain your sharpness mentally, cognitively, right? Do you want to continue in your current career? Do you even like it? Do you want to switch and learn something new? Are you taking courses? Are you reading? Are you watching documentaries? Or doing things to better your mind? And what about your spiritual health? Are you spending time with God each day? Are you spending time in the Bible with other believers? Are you learning and growing spiritually? Or are you the same as you were several years ago? How are you growing? How are your relationships in your life? That's kind of a combination of the spiritual and the emotional as well. Do you have real connections with other people? Or do you put on this mask and kind of pretend like you are okay? Do you have some real connections with real people who you can be honest with, who can support you, And is our spiritual health, is our mental, emotional, is all that related to physical health and what we put into our bodies to eat and how we take care of ourselves? Is any of that related? Well, I hope you're going to see by the end of these 3 weeks that all of that is interrelated. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to set a timer for just 5 to 10 minutes, and I want you to really think about this. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can add to it later. I want you to think about those different areas and think about where you are now, where you want to be in a year, and where you want to be in 5 years. You can just take a blank sheet of paper, make 3 columns, and put physical as number 1 on the left, and where you are now, where you want to be in a year, and then 5 years. then put mental, emotional, and spiritual, and just jot down a few things within that time frame. When the timer goes off, you can stop and do something else, okay? Then I also want you to spend just another 3 to 5 minutes, either at the same time period when you're sitting down, or it could be at a different time. And I want you to write down 5 things you'd like to change in each of these areas this year, okay? And now here's the key. Write down 1 or 2 ways you think you can take a step in each of those 5 areas. Just one, that's all you have to do, or you can write 2 if you really want to. Why are we doing this, right? Well, because this is going to help not only give us vision, right? It's also going to help you with motivation. When you are traveling to a new place, if you don't know where you are right now, or where your current location is, right? How can you know how to get to a new location? And that's the same thing that we're talking about right now with our health and our areas of health, okay? So let's talk about motivation. And did you know that you have 2 basic types, intrinsic, which is internal, or extrinsic, which is external? So let me give you some examples to further explain that. Intrinsic or internal, you are the motivational factors because you want to get better, you yourself. Maybe you want to look or feel better inside. You want to have more confidence, right? You want to decrease your fatigue and your brain fog. Maybe that, that fuzzy thinking. Those are all internal reasons. You want to be the best that you can be so that you can serve God. Extrinsic or external, or maybe you want to look good for others. Maybe you have a spouse, maybe your children, maybe your high school reunion is coming up. You have an upcoming wedding. Those are external or extrinsic motivations. They're not bad in and of itself. And a lot of times those are the first reasons why we do motivate ourselves. But I think you can kind of see that you need to have some more intrinsic motivation than just extrinsic if you want to do this long term. And I hope you do. I hope you're not just doing this for just the 3 weeks. I hope this will carry over for you. All right, is this statement true or false? Eating has nothing to do with our mindset. Think about that for a minute. Do you think that's true or false? Well, let's jump to the next slide and talk about mindset. All right, so their mindset is made of our attitudes and how we think about ourselves and others. It helps increase our confidence, our ability to carry on when life gets tough. We have challenges, whether that's with family, with health, with our job, with the world. So there are 2 basic types of mindset, fixed and growth. And if you've never studied this, it's quite interesting. So let me talk a little bit about it for a few minutes. Fixed mindset are those people who give up easily. They say failure is actually my limit, so I'm not going to keep on trying, right? They want to avoid challenges. They stick to only what they know already. Or maybe they think that they're too old or too young or too skinny or too fat or too whatever to learn something new, okay? If you have a fixed mindset, you think you're either good at something or you're not, and you're not able to learn anymore, And people who have a fixed mindset, they do not take feedback or constructive criticism very well. They take it personally. Now, on the other hand, if you have a growth mindset, you look at failure as an opportunity for growth. You say to yourself, well, I'm not too old or too whatever to learn something new. I appreciate people who give me feedback. I can learn from that. And I'm inspired by other people's successes rather than feeling discouraged, which is what somebody with a fixed mindset might say. If you have a growth mindset, you keep on trying, and you keep on trying to develop yourself intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. So Which do you want to have for this program? So by taking the first step and signing up, you've already kind of shown that you have a growth mindset, but we all can continue to work in this area, right? And so let's do something for the next 3 weeks. Let's have a growth mindset, okay? There might be some new things that I mentioned to you and suggest to you to do. And you signed up for this because you were looking for some outside help, right? You maybe have been trying and you weren't able to achieve some changes by yourself. So let's have a growth mindset and try some of the things that I'm going to tell you to do, right? You realize that you don't know everything. So that you're already showing that you have a growth mindset. So let's learn some new skills and knowledge and figure out how you can make some changes. So that's going to involve a learning curve, right? Some ups and downs, but we are going to persevere. And I know you can do it, and that's what I'm here for. So let's talk about a spiritual mindset. Our spiritual area or our spiritual health is interrelated into all the other areas of our health, okay? God created us that way. He didn't create us as just having these little divisions in our brain and our heart and our soul, right? It's all interrelated into who He created us to be in His image, right? And He wants us to crave more of Him, desire more of Him, not to replace Him with things like food, junk food, alcohol, relationships, busyness, maybe social media. We can have goals to look and to feel better, and those are fine. But ultimately, we want to do what God wants, right? He wants us to take care of our bodies and minds. He created them, right? And if we don't take care of them, then we're not going to have the energy or the stamina to serve Him and serve others, right? So He's calling us back to Him by creating this hole that He wants us to fill with Him. I like this quote. It says, "Do not ask God to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet," right? So I want you to just think about it. You've got to move and actually do something if you're wanting to walk a block or a mile, right? The same is true when you're trying to make any kind of health changes, right? You have to put some skin into the game. So when you signed up for the program, you did the first step, so you moved your feet. The second step is to put into action the action steps that I'm going to tell you about today, all right? Do you know that I've actually had clients in the past who have paid for my private health coaching for 3 months or more, and we meet, and then they haven't done the steps for the past couple weeks. And the funny thing is, they were the ones who actually came up with the steps to do, not me. Why? Well, there might have been various reasons, right? Some legitimately, maybe they had a sick child or a spouse or someone who's in the hospital, but others were just kind of meh, as the kids say now. They say, "Oh, I don't have time to go to the store or fix a meal on the weekends." Or one of my favorites is this: "I just didn't feel like it." Well, I get it. I don't always feel like it either. And sometimes I don't eat or do healthy, right? But we always know that feelings follow actions. So do it first, and the feelings are going to follow, okay? And you're going to feel good that you actually accomplished one step for the day, okay? And, sometimes I don't feel like going outside for a walk. And so I just don't do it. And then I feel kind of blah that day because that was one of my goals to do that day. The same with my spiritual life. If I say I don't have time to do a 5-minute little devotional or pray. Well, how does that help me really? So let God guide you, but be willing to move your feet. Okay, so this week we're going to keep a food journal for 2-3 days. Okay. In your email, I've included an attachment, a worksheet that you can do this on, or you can jot it down on paper. What you want to do is write down all the food and everything that you eat or drink. Okay. You also want to include every morsel and approximately the portion size. You don't have to have a scale and weigh it, but just approximately, because there's a big difference in eating 2 cups of potato chips and a small handful, okay? Note any kind of moods or physical symptoms, headaches, maybe your stomach hurts, maybe you're just exhausted, up to a couple hours afterwards, and write it down. And what I really would like you to do is to do it for a couple of days before you start implementing some of the suggestions we're going to talk about. That way we can get kind of a baseline of what your food and your eating patterns are right now. You can copy it, email it to me. You can take a screenshot and email it to me, and I'll do a quick review and give you a few little ideas if you want me to. Sometimes it's just helpful for you to see it, right? Okay, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This quote by Benjamin Franklin is actually one of my favorites because 3 keys to successfully eating healthy are plan, shop, and prep. That should be what you say to yourself this week. Plan, shop, prep. Plan, shop, prep. Very, very important, okay? If you do those 3 things, you're going to be able to eat healthy the rest of your life. Are you going to be perfect? No, you're not going to be perfect. Remember, it's progress, not perfection. But the more you can plan and do some shopping and prepping, you are going to be more successful, right? It's also going to help you with convenience and time management, and it will help you save some money. And I know food prices have soared a lot lately, and so I know everybody wants to save as much money as they can, right? You can package into small portions. You can use storage containers or little baggies. Don't eat out of a box or a bag because you won't know how much you're eating. Is just mindless eating. And remember, we want to have a growth mindset, and we want to have a mindset where we have self-control. All right, let's talk about meal planning. This is one of the most important keys to successfully eating healthy. And I have attached a couple of different samples of types of meal planning you can do. There is no right or wrong way. You have to figure out what works best for you. You can do just a simple kind of ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks each day, or you can do a more specific, I want this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday, and so forth, right? So just look in your email and you'll see some samples that you can use for that. When you do have healthy foods in your house for meals and for snacks, you are setting yourself up for success. You are going to eat healthier. You're going to be less tempted because you're not going to have as much tempting food because you're going to have a lot more healthy alternatives in the house, right? And your mood is going to be affected for the good because you're going to be eating less junk, right? So please meal plan for the week, or just do it in maybe 2 to 3 days at a time, and that's going to help you feel more prepared. You can use your phone, you can use an iPad, your notes section, use an app. There are tons of them out there, or just use old-fashioned pen and paper, whatever works for you. There's a great grocery app that I like to use that I have my shopping list on. If you want to know what that is, then I will send it to you. But do your meal planning for the week, transfer to the shopping list, and one of the samples that I send you has a separate area for the shopping list, okay? And then take it to the store and stick to your list. Make sure you are not starving or exhausted when you go to the grocery store. Not a good time. You need to eat a snack or a meal and then go, okay? Once you get in the habit of doing this for a week or two, it's going to be a lot easier. And here's the thing, most people eat the same 7 to 10 meals usually. So you can just make up 1 week's worth of meals, okay? Then you can repeat it. Or you can make up 1 week and a second week and then just rotate those, okay? Another option, some people like to do that for dinners only, and then for breakfast and lunch, they just have 2 or 3 options, that they follow. But you do you, but try some different ways to see what works better for you and for your family, okay? Look at the email, like I said, and then I think that's going to help you this week. Your diet is a bank account. Good food choices are good investments. That's what I want you to think about. I know food has gone up and healthier. A lot of times people say, oh, the box stuff is so much cheaper. It may be cheaper to your pocketbook, but not in the long run, because if you eat that for decades and for your whole life, Eventually, as you get older, you're going to be spending more in doctor's visits and losing time from work and being able to enjoy your life because you're going to be sicker. So invest in healthy foods. Okay. Um, there are various different types of diets out there. We're going to talk about some of them over the next 3 weeks, but this week we're going to focus on the simplest and easiest to implement. You may be saying, well, what is that, Lee? I hear so many different ones. It's just to eat whole, real foods the way God created them. The less processed, the better. Foods closest to the way they're grown when you buy them. Why? Because they have more nutrients, more vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, less sugar, chemicals, and junk. It's going to keep you fuller and also provide energy longer for your body and your mind. And that's really the purpose of food, right? I mean, God did create our taste buds, so he wants us to enjoy them, enjoy the food, but the primary purpose of food is fuel, to give us energy so that we can serve him and serve what our calling is, right? Now, you might be saying, what are some real whole foods I can include? Meats, eggs, fish, fruit, vegetables, whole grains like brown rice. Some people can do oats, but sometimes that causes bloating with some people, so you need to check. Also, be aware, corn is not a veggie. It is a type of grain. It's actually one of the most inflammatory out there. So if you have any kind of GI issues, tummy bloating, cramping, I'd suggest you not eat that for a few weeks and see how you feel. Whole foods are not processed, so they don't have a lot of chemicals, and they're not going to have the ingredients that you can't pronounce, okay? So you want to look for, you want to shop the perimeter of the store mainly, and anything else, turn it over and read your food labels. That is going to be key, and we'll talk about that more in upcoming weeks. You're wanting to eat some more of the macros, the proteins, the carbs, and the fats, and more fiber, because that's going to keep you fuller longer and also help you stay more energized. All right, so let's talk about the first step this week is simply to eat a healthy breakfast. And here are some examples of unhealthy and healthy. And you may be like me. I grew up basically on unhealthy breakfasts. I would have store-bought cereals, breads, bagels, pastries, Pop-Tarts, store-bought muffins. You know what? Those have a lot of sugar. They have a lot of inflammatory foods and chemicals that are not going to give you energy. They're a quick, simple carbohydrate, not a complex carbohydrate, so it's not going to stick with you very long. And so you're going to be starving in a couple of hours, right? And did you know that the American Heart Association says that average Americans should eat 25 grams of sugar or less per day? However, a lot of the cereals out there that you buy, or even the yogurts, which people think are healthy, have 15 to 25. I even saw one last week that had 30 grams of sugar in one serving. Well, if you were trying to stick to 25 grams or less, if you eat that much at breakfast, you're not going to have much wiggle room the rest of the day, right? And what else is going to happen? Well, you're setting up your taste buds to demand more sugar, right? It's just a cycle. You feed your body sugar, you get that sugar hit and that dopamine, that neurotransmitter that causes you to feel good. And then in 2 hours, you're going to crash. And then how do you feel? You're weak, no energy. You might have a headache. You might get kind of jittery. So what do? You eat more sweets. So this cycle just goes on and on. And sugar pumps inflammatory cytokines into your bloodstream. That's going to contribute to some chronic illnesses, arthritis. It can cause some problems with your kidneys and endocrine system, so that you may develop diabetes type 2 later on. It also can cause premature aging, wrinkles, skin discoloration, and it can cause the brain fogginess. It can cause risk of mood issues, depression, anxiety. So you don't want to have that much sugar, right? I think you can see that. And most of the standard American diet breakfasts, with fast food biscuits, the coffee latte with lots of sugar, that is just setting yourself up for to be hangry or starving before lunch. So instead, let's try some healthy breakfast. And your email, I'm going to have some ideas of that as well. But here's some ideas. Smoothies. Make sure you include a clean protein powder, and you can put some veggies and some fruit and water in there. Sometimes I'll throw even my vitamins. I'll open up the capsule and throw that in there with some ice. And I make enough so I have enough for a afternoon snack. And that's a good way to sneak in some veggies. You could also eat leftovers from dinner. Think savory, not sweet. That's going to help you get fuller because you're going to include that protein, carb, fat, and fiber, and your taste buds aren't going to have that sugar, so you're not going to keep demanding it the rest of the day. I don't usually recommend a lot of coffee, and you always should start off with some water, and then if you want to have a cup, okay, but too much caffeine, if you drink it by itself, it can cause people to kind of have the jitters, right? However, if you do drink it, add some clean protein powder, and a lot of times that will help maintain that blood sugar level. The most important thing is to listen to your body by watching for any kind of symptoms and how you feel. So how can you, you've decided to eat breakfast, good for you. So how can you increase the likelihood of eating it, okay? Here are some ideas. Like I mentioned, you want to plan, write down 2 to 3 options, and you can rotate them. You can prepare it the night before. If you've already made it, or if you use some quick and easy breakfast ideas, then you're going to increase the tendency to follow through. You can put out all the utensils, plates, spoons, knives, forks that you need, glasses. You can put out non-perishable ingredients, your pans if you're going to do some cooking. You can even put out the vitamins or that you're going to be taking the next morning. You also can make up, if you're in a big hurry and you're going to be rushing out the door, pack a to-go breakfast just like you would do your lunch. Some I like are smoothies, like I mentioned just previously. You can pour it into a glass mason jar, make it after dinner the night before, pour it into a glass mason jar, and stick it in your lunchbox with the straw. Okay, the texture is better if you drink them immediately, but by the next morning it should be fine. And like I made one this morning, I'll drink one this afternoon, and the texture is still fine as well. Include though the clean protein powder and also some healthy fat, like maybe a quarter to half of an avocado to help keep you fuller longer, as well as like some spinach or some kind of veggies. Another great idea is to make us some chia seed puddings, and that's what this picture is of. You can make them in little individual containers, little small mason jars, and you can refrigerate them for several days or even freeze them and then take them out and pack them to go, and you can eat it when you get to work. Also, leftovers from dinner are quick. Just after dinner, put some in a small little container and you can eat that in the morning. You could even take that with you for breakfast or lunch. There are many recipes for crock pot breakfast casseroles. You prepare it right after dinner. Then you turn it on before going to bed, and you're going to wake up to not just a delicious smell, but you're going to have this wonderful fragrance that's going to entice you to get out of bed, get dressed, and eat breakfast too, right? And your family as well. There are also little egg muffins you can make, and you can pre-cook sausage. You can make up sausage patties on the weekend from turkey or beef, or if you eat pork, you can do that. Also, there are some that you can buy and heat up as well. So there are lots of options out there. The key is to plan and be prepared. Okay, so another thing that we're going to be doing this week is daily affirmations. So you want to write down and put it in a couple of spots, maybe on a Post-it on your computer, on your bathroom mirror, your windowsill, a Bible verse, another affirmation. I have several that I put that pop up in my calendar on my phone throughout the day. When I get up, I like to say, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him." Or, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Also like Romans 12:2, Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's a really good one when we're trying to change, because most people are not choosing to have healthy bodies, minds, and spirit, right? But you are. Also, another one is I am choosing to eat and think healthy today. That's just a simple one and all. But you can use one of mine or pick one of your own, but incorporate this into your quiet time in your day. All right, so this is our daily framework of 4. There's going to be action steps you're going to be doing, but every day throughout the 3 weeks, these are your 4 that are going to remain. So the first one is when you get up, drink a glass of water, whether that's plain, whether you infuse it with some fruit or lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, but drink a glass of water before you drink coffee or tea or anything else. The second thing is have at least a 5-minute quiet time where you go over Bible verse, a little devotional, and do your affirmation. It's just starting your day on a positive mindset, and do that and all of the and the next one before you start getting on your phone or scrolling social media. The next thing is write down 3 things you're grateful for, and I recommend writing them down because it just helps reinforce that when you see it in handwriting. And the last thing is try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that in upcoming weeks. So these are your action steps for the week. Your daily framework 4, right? And you may think that that's so simple and the others might be too simple too, but you signed up for the program because something wasn't working. So let's have a growth mindset and do these, all right? Then you're going to fill out, there's a why and goal sheet that I'm sending you, and also the other activity I mentioned about thinking about where you are now in 1 year and 5 years. Do your food journal, meal plan, shop, and do some prepping, okay? And eat breakfast every day, all right? And don't forget, you can take a picture of that food journal and send it to me, and I'll review it if you want some ideas. So I know that change can be hard, but I do love this quote. If nothing ever changed, there'd be no butterflies. This is so true, right? We would not have beautiful butterflies if those caterpillars didn't weave and didn't become the chrysalis, and metamorphosis didn't occur, right? I remember one time when my children were little, it was a little bit before Easter time. We bought them some caterpillars that came in like this little netting, and you could hang it up, and then they were going to transform into butterflies. Well, it seemed to take forever, and my kids kept asking me, how much longer, Mommy? How much longer? Well, isn't that the way it is when God's working on us? We always say, how much longer, God? I'm ready to be changed right now. But change happens slowly, just like it did with those caterpillars. And they did turn into butterflies right before Easter, which was really so cool and everything. But we seem to learn lessons better when we go slow, and sticking to healthy eating and changing our lifelong patterns may take time. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to revert right back to our old habits. So I don't want you to give up. I want you to hang in there. All right. I've been there, and I'm sure you have as well. So let's see what metamorphosis God has in store for you. We're going to take it one day at a time and be patient. Do your part and remain steadfast. I know you can do it. I have faith and confidence in you. So I hope you have a great week. If you need anything, reach out to me. You can reply to your email, post in our Facebook group, and let's just encourage each other, because that's what part of the beauty of a group program is. Have a great week. Bye for now.